Good evening and welcome to the November 21st, 2024 regular meeting of San Diego Community Power Board of Directors. I am Joe LaCava, Chair of the Board and the representative for the City of San Diego. And board members joining us in person today at the Port of San Diego Administration Building. I will now call the November 21st, 2024 regular meeting of the Board of Directors of San Diego Community Power to order. Mari, will you please call the roll?
Chair LaCava.
Present.
Vice Chair Lassen-Reamer. Director Ayure. Here. Alternate Director Chu.
Here.
Director Yamani. Here.
Is Mayor
Mayor McCann.
Present.
Oh, there we go.
And Director Hinsey. Here. We have a quorum, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. So let's start by standing, if you're able, and face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. Hand over your heart, ready to begin.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, a quorum is present. So next up on the agenda, special presentation introductions, and we'll start with a land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that this meeting is taking place on the land of the original inhabitants of the greater San Diego region. A land acknowledgement is a critical step towards working with Native communities, create meaningful partnerships and inclusion in the stewardship and protection of their cultural resources and homelands. Let's take a moment to honor these ancestral grounds that were the traditional land of the Kumeyaay. And with that, we will do introductions of new community power staff. We'll start out with Amy Whitehouse, Senior Program Manager. Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, good evening, board and chairperson. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Amy Whitehouse. I joined Community Power about a month ago as a Senior Program Manager, and I'll be working full-time on the recently approved San Diego Regional Energy Network. I'm very excited to start this role. I'll be overseeing the public sector programs, the codes and standards program, and one of the workforce training programs. So really excited to collaborate with you all on those and provide updates as we gear towards launch. I'm joining Community Power from a nonprofit. I've been working in San Diego for the last 8 years on energy efficiency programs. I had the privilege in my previous position of working with the Community Power programs team and developing the business plan for San Diego Regional Energy Network, and I liked the team and the portfolio of programs so much, I wanted to have a more permanent role in administering them. So thank you for having me.
Welcome aboard. Next up, Desiree Doherty, Marketing Manager.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Desiree Doherty, and I am joining the team as a marketing manager, also with the Regional Energy Network. I am born and raised in Southern California and have been a San Diegan since 2007. So really excited to contribute to this region and to the team. I have been in marketing for over 15 years and most recently spent almost a decade in workforce development, really integrating programmatic goals with building a trustworthy brand across a diverse portfolio of programs. So really excited to apply that knowledge here to launching the REN as well. Thank you.
And then next up is Ethan Toth, Data Engineer. Did I get that right?
Yes, you did. Thank you, board, and thanks, Chair LaCava. Yes, my name is Ethan Toth. I am a data engineer at SDCP. My background is from consulting. I used to live in the state of Washington and moved here last year. I have about 6 years of experience in software development and data engineering, and my role at SDCP is going to be improving the data pipelines that we have in place currently and creating new infrastructure to expand our data capabilities. It's a pleasure to meet you all. Thank you.
Welcome aboard. And with that, we have one more. So if Director Hinsey would join me at the podium down below. This way. You're an elected official, you just do what they tell you. It is with a little bit of sadness, but a great deal of gratefulness that we recognize that today is Kelly's last day on the board of directors of Community Power. We can't thank you enough for what you contributed over the years that you were here, understanding the full diversity of what Community Power represents, but also being a powerful voice for the city of Encinitas and the residents and business up there. You've done a terrific job. We'll have difficulty filling your shoes, but you've been a fantastic director and wish you the best, whatever you do going forward. You want to say a few words today?
Yes, what an exhilarating 2 years it's been. I think this is one of the more dynamic organizations that I've gotten to be a part of during my 6 years as an elected official. And I'm just always amazed at the staff and the high quality of the products that we're putting out. And I love it when I can actually understand a staff report. And you do a fantastic job of doing those presentations. And to my fellow board members, oh my gosh, what a exciting thing for somebody from way out there in North County to get to come down here and participate in this dynamism that is the South County folks in the city of San Diego. I've learned so much from all of you. And to Karen, you're an amazing leader, and I'm proud to have you as an Encinitas resident, and I hope that we keep in touch, and the same to all of you. So thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Take a picture. And this is Karen. Kelly will be sticking around afterwards, so if you want to share any parting thoughts. So with that, we will now take up non-agenda public comment. I want to note that written public comments submitted before the board meeting were emailed to all directors prior to the board meeting and will be posted on the website at the beginning of the meeting. Mari, do we have any non-agenda public comment?
No, Mr. Chairman.
And Mari, I can't see Director McCann, so if his hand goes up, I will probably catch it. So,
Okay, we'll take a look.
all right. So with that, we'll get on to the consent agenda, which is items 1 through 9, which includes approving the meeting minutes of October 2024. Several receive and files, including the treasurer's report ending August 31st, an update on programs, an update on power resources, an update on customer operations, an update on human resources, an update on marketing, public relations, and local government affairs, an update on regulatory and legislative affairs, and also item 9, which is to approve a contract for managed charging software procurement from Optiwan in a not to exceed value of $420,000 over 2 years, and authorize the chief executive officer to execute the contract. Are there any directors that would like to pull items from the consent calendar? Not seeing any. Mari, do we have any public comment on the consent item?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right, with that, I'll turn it over to the directors. Do we have any questions or comments? And we'll need a motion.
I'm happy to move if there's no comment.
Give a second.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion by the Director Aguirre and a second by Director Shu. Mari, please call the vote.
Chair LaCava,
Yes.
Director Aguirre,
Yes.
Alternate Director Shu,
Yes.
Director Yamani,
Yes.
Director McCann,
Aye.
Director Hinsey. Yes, motion carries, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Move on to item 10, which is to approve fiscal year end 2023-2024 financial audit. And with this, I'll turn it over to Dr. Eric Washington to introduce the item. We also have our auditors, Brett Bradford, here in person, and Alejandra Schaefer available remotely. Dr. Washington?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, board. Again, I'm Dr. Eric Washington, Chief Financial Officer at San Diego Community Power. I'm happy to report that we have yet again completed a successful audit. We have Brad, the Senior Auditor, Brad Bradford, the Audit Partner, here to present the outcome from the fiscal year 2023-24 audit for San Diego Community Power. Brad.
Thank you, Dr. Washington. It's great to be reporting to the board once again and in person this time, especially since I came from Sonoma County and the weather is amazing here. I think we've got our slides going. This first slide is a brief introductory slide. Myself and part of the team, I've been doing this for quite a while, and our firm, along with Ali and the rest of the team's help, work with several CCAs throughout California right now. If we could advance, please. The 2024 audit is complete, and the two pieces of good news there are the opinion is unmodified, which means it's a clean opinion, and the financials are stated in accordance with GAAP and are materially accurate. And also, there are no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in internal control, both very good things. I'll note too that we met with the FRMC in October and reported out. Purpose here for us to come before the board is, of course, communication and information exchange. So please feel free to interrupt me with any questions during my presentation. This slide here is just a revisiting of the relative roles and responsibilities, management and the auditor. Management, Dr. Washington and his team are responsible for preparing the financial statements and establishing a system of internal control. And as the auditors, we're responsible for auditing the financial statements. And we do that by considering the risks of material misstatement in the financial statements. We look at internal controls, and we perform tests of year-end balances. And we also evaluate the adequacy of the disclosures, which are in accordance with governmental GAAP. So if we could advance, please. The audit is a risk-based audit, and at a high level, how we perform that risk assessment is we gain an understanding of the entity's operating characteristics, practices, and procedures. Of course, our work with other CCAs comes into play there to help facilitate that. We compare our knowledge to that of similar entities, industry, and professional guidance. And we review procedures and controls surrounding significant transaction cycles and business processes. And if we can advance, please. Some of our significant areas are revenue recognition, and we look closely at accounts receivable and accrued revenue at year end. We do a fair amount of testing of customer billings. We look at cash, all cash received during the year, and compare that, reconcile that to revenue. Actual cash balances, we send confirmations directly to financial institutions. And if we could advance, please. Other significant areas of focus, we look at accrued cost of electricity, the other side of the balance sheet. We want to make sure that as the revenues are properly recognized for the period, the related costs are also recognized. And we also look at supplier security deposits. And of course, the note disclosures, which are voluminous and in accordance with governmental GAAP requirements. And if you could advance, please. These next few slides are professional requirements of our professional standards. Some of them sound a little bit duplicative or non-specific. They are check the box disclosures, so to speak. There were no material accounting policies adopted by San Diego Community Power throughout the period audited. No alternative treatments of accounting principles for material items in the financial statements were discussed with management. We did not propose any adjustments to the financial statements. We did not identify any significant or unusual transactions or applications of accounting principles where a lack of authoritative guidance exists. There were no disagreements with management concerning the scope of our audit, the application of accounting principles, or the basis for management's judgments on any significant matters. And we did not encounter any difficulties in dealing with management during the performance of our audit. And I'm happy, that concludes my slides. I am happy to answer any questions concerning the audit.
All right, first we'll go to public comment. Do we have any?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right. I appreciate the word duplicative. I'm going to ask you some questions before I turn it over to the director, which some of it we touched already. Was any audit work not performed due to any limitations placed on you by management?
No,
Was the audit performed in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards or generally accepted government auditing standards?
general accepted auditing standards as noted in our audit report.
How would you compare Community Power's financial reporting with that of comparable government entities?
That's a tough one for me to answer, maintaining kind of a kind of confidentiality and independence. So you mean in the quality of the reporting? I would say, as auditors, we're very limited by our professional standards in saying anything good. So if there was anything bad or negative, we would say that. So I think that some of the things that I noted just speak for themselves. No adjustments, no disagreements. We got everything done in accordance with the schedule that we identified ahead of time, and things went smoothly once again. So I hope that's enough of an answer for you.
No, I'll take that. And then is there any information you are aware of that you believe should have been disclosed or included in this audit that is not currently in the document?
No.
And then for Dr. Washington, because we're not going to keep that up without any questions. To your knowledge, is there any information that should have been disclosed in the audit that has not been disclosed? Are there any questions listen to the board and let me know if there's any questions that we should have asked that we have not? And with that, I'll turn over to the director for any questions or comments, and we will need a motion to accept the audit.
Mr. Chairman, motion to accept if there are no comments.
I'll second, and I just want to reiterate our gratitude to Dr. Washington and the finance team for all of your work, as well as the auditors. Excellent. Thank you.
All right, then we have a motion by member Yamani and a director Yamani and a second by director Aguirre. I will add my thanks to you, Dr. Washington. These audits don't come through like this unless we've done very good work, you and your team. So thank you for that. And thank you for doing the audit and showing up in person to present it.
Oh, my pleasure. Like I said, thank you all very much.
All right, with that, Mari, please call the vote.
Chair LaCava,
Yes.
Director Aguirre. Yes. Alternate Director Shu,
Aye.
Director Yamani,
Aye.
Director McCann,
Aye.
Director Hinsey. Yes. Motion carries, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. We'll now move on to item 11, which is a presentation and update on the clean energy prepayment financing. And I'll turn it over to our Chief Financial Officer, again, Dr. Eric Washington, to present this item.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair and directors. Next slide, please. So this slide is essentially an overview that we've shared through a series of presentations and updates to the board of directors, as well as the Finance and Risk Management Committee. The goal for these types of prepayment transactions are to, in some way, yield a discount or a reduction in energy costs per transaction, in which we can pass these savings on directly to our ratepayers. And it's done through leveraging tax-exempt bonds to secure long-term energy supplies. So by way of background, again, it's allowed under the U.S. tax law codes. It's been used largely since the 1990s. Over hundreds of transactions have been done in the U.S., mostly in the gas markets. 12 energy prepayment transactions amounting to $11.3 billion have been done over the last few years, with the issuer being the California Community Choice Finance Authority on behalf of California CCAs or Community Choice Aggregators. And this is a list of some of those transactions that have previously closed, where there were varying percentages of discounts on various transactions. Next slide, please. So this slide, again, is a timeline, a presentation that we've done, a series over the past several months. Just a reminder for this body and the public, our journey started back in November of last year, starting with approval by this board to engage various parties that were involved in carrying out this transaction, again, including various presentations to both the Finance and Risk Management Committee as well as the Board of Directors, with the board approving two resolutions. One, to allow us to move forward with transacting a prepaid transaction, and then also allowing us to become an associate member at the California Community Choice Financing Authority, again, the issuer on behalf of CCAs and these bonds. So just moving forward to November 5th, that was a milestone date for Community Power, as well as the trajectory along the journey. We actually priced out the bonds in the market, which we were excited to learn that there was such an interest in investors in purchasing the bonds. And then as of yesterday, we officially closed our first prepaid bond transaction. And I'd like to just pause for just a moment to really provide a shout out for the entire Community Power team, but more specifically, Byron Vosberg, our Chief Commercial Officer, Karen Burns for her leadership and support in navigating this transaction. Then also Vera Tyagi, our General Counsel, who led the legal portions of the transaction. And then also our Director of Finance, Tim Maglamont, who kind of kept us organized throughout the process. So we officially closed on yesterday, November 20th. Next slide, please. So as a reminder of the parameters that were approved by the board, documented by the resolution, we were approved to do a transaction up to $1.5 billion, a minimum discount for the transaction of at least 8%, and then the maximum transaction fee of 1%. So the row beneath the parameters that were set for the transaction are the actual results. So we ended up with a $1 billion, slightly over $1 billion size transaction. We were able to achieve a 12% discount, and then we also transacted for less than the 1% that was approved by the board. Interestingly enough, when we went to market, it was actually election day, so the market was pretty wonky, for lack of a better term. But nevertheless, as a result, the next slide, please. We were able to achieve for this transaction, again, this is the first of several transactions we hope to transact in the not so distant future, $8.6 million discount annually for this transaction through over the next 8 years. 6.8, I'm sorry. $6.8 million savings. So really couldn't be more proud of the team that truly collaborated to bring this transaction to close. It was a heavy lift, but nevertheless, we were able to achieve the $6.8 million savings over the next 8 years. So next slide, please. So, Mr. Chair, that concludes my presentation on this item. I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Washington. Mari, is there any public comment on this item?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right. So we did take the action last month, but I thought it was important, and we did it just in time, to actually present to the board what the outcome of our action was last month. And as you said, Dr. Washington, well done. It was a big transaction, a team effort to do it. So thank you for that. This is an information item, and so there's no moment. But if there's any comments or questions that any of the directors have on this, all right. Okay. Again, thank you to you and the entire team.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item 12, which is to consider amendments to the existing San Diego Community Power Board and Committee compensation and reimbursement policy. And if approved, make amendments effective January 1st, 2025. So this is for me to present. So I'll briefly introduce this, but also will look to my ad hoc committee members to weigh in as well. As you may recall, this is a follow-up from a previous board discussion to address board compensation. And this is intended to alleviate disparities among the city's elected members, as some are full-time jobs, such as myself, with staff, and others are not. Fair compensation ensures that Community Power is not excluding any interested director who wishes to fully participate on the board. An ad hoc committee was formed consisting of Director Yamani, Director Aguirre, and myself. The ad hoc committee is recommending to modify the per diem to $300 from the current $100. This amount is appropriate for the time commitment of the directors and is comparable with other CCAs. All amendments to the board and committee compensation and reimbursement policy are included in the backup material to the item. And with that, Mari, do we have any public comment on this item?
None, Mr. Chairman.
All right. So we did have a good, robust discussion with this on the ad hoc committee, and I certainly supported the suggested increase that our two fellow directors recommended. Do either one of you want to speak to this item?
Thank you, Chair. It was a pleasure to serve with the ad hoc. I want to thank that Director Yamani for bringing some data, comparative data from other agencies, especially in the community aggregate choice space. We think it's reasonable and fair. It's for the reasons that you just mentioned, chairs. Not all of the directors are full-time or have a staff capacity and, you know, they have to take time away from other obligations. So that we came up with this amount. We think it's reasonable. Thank you.
Director Yamani?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we had a robust discussion about this item. We were diligent and as well as looking at other agencies. Our Council Vera was there to also give us guidance on the legalities of what we have to do. And so I believe that this recommendation is just fair and right, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Director Yamani, and thank you for reminding me. Vera did a lot of background work to note whether there was any parameters that we had to be guided by. So that was very much appreciated, very, very helpful. So, Director Kinsey.
Yeah, just a comment to say I'm in full support and I'm really grateful that you brought this forward. I'm a little sad to be missing out on it. But yeah, truly, I was reflecting on my journey here with Dr. Washington before the meeting began. And from Encinitas at this time of day, it takes an hour and a half to get here. So a lot of time goes into coming here, a lot of time to go back, and then the time it takes to digest the information, ask the questions, and do the exchange with our community that's required to make sure we're making good decisions. So thank you, and I support it.
Yeah, and there's also committees that we ask directors to sit on, or working groups as well. That's more time commitment. If there is no Vice Chair Lawson Reamer.
Thank you. I'm very supportive. In the general sentiment, would just put out there, I would be comfortable as a person who does have a salary and represents one of the few individuals who are here full-time, that if people thought it was appropriate to exclude those of us who are paid full-time, I would think that was appropriate. I would be fine with that. It's not right and not fair that you all work so hard and you know, don't get paid for the time, like 3 hours, 4 hours, 6 hours round trip. So just putting it out.
I agree. And I didn't want to say anything out loud, but I was going to do the same thing now with this increase. I feel very fortunate with the compensation we get at the City Council. And Director McCann? No. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I wasn't sure they were pointing to me.
Oh, no, sorry. I think I just want to maybe remind the chair that we did discuss that. And I think the issue was the determination of who was being compensated full-time adequately to reflect the amount of work that's put into our agency is a little different to determine because people are paid in different ways by their member agencies. Yeah. I think where we landed that a member could choose to not seek reimbursement without seeking per diem if they felt that they were adequately compensated. But that wouldn't exclude members who technically are receiving a full-time salary, but it's not necessarily high enough for such amount of time.
Thank you for that distinction. So unless there's any other comments, we'll need a motion.
Move to approve, Mr. Chair.
I'll second.
All right, not seeing anybody else wishing to talk. Amari, please call the vote.
Chair LaCava,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lawson Reamer,
Yes.
Director Aguirre,
Yes.
Alternate Director Shu,
Aye.
Director Yamani,
Aye.
Director McCann,
Aye.
Director Hensey. Yes. Passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. Now move on to item 13, which is the 2023 Power Source Disclosure Program Annual Reports and Power Content Label, and adoption of resolution number 2024-11, approving the submission and attesting to the accuracy of the Community Power's 2023 Power Source Disclosure Annual Reports, the Power On, Power 100, and the 2023 Power Content Label. And with that, we'll turn over to Byron Vosberg, Chief Commercial Officer, to present this item.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Board. Good evening. Pretty straightforward. Any questions? Quite the mouthful in the introduction. Appreciate that, Chair. So we're here today. The timing, I'll admit, seems odd, right? We're here to talk about 2023 as we close out 2024. But this is a bit of a procedural effort here, and I'll note that this year has been atypical due to delays in the accounting software that it's called Regis, but it's the system that all of the Western United States uses to track renewable energy credits. Had a bunch of delays this year, and so we are here well later than we typically do to close out the books on 2023. So that's the goal here. Again, as you can see on these slides, the Public Utilities Commission requires all of us as load serving entities to provide to our customers the power source disclosure and the power content label. So we do that. The power source disclosure goes to the CEC. The power content label is what we mail to all customers. It's kind of the nutritional facts of our power content. And this, of course, before we submit it, requires board review and board approval. So that's why what we're doing here tonight. Next slide, please. As you can see here, this is our power content label for 2023. It reflects everything accurately. I will note that in the future, this will be a more complex power content label as we've added products recently. Power 100. Bless you. So as we've added more products, we've added Power 100 Green Plus. We've added Power Base to provide more options to our customers. Those were not available in 2023. So this is still a 2-product power content label. As I mentioned, it's been quite a year going through. Again, we've got 7 million megawatt hours delivered in 2023. The team has been working diligently with a lot of our staff and a lot of consultants to go at times megawatt hour by megawatt hour through these, working with a lot of our contracts that we via which we provide or which we receive power. There have been times where we've been chasing down tens or hundreds of megawatts here and there to make sure this is all trued up and tied out. So it's been a very thorough process, especially as we all deal with delays in the REC accounting system. So we're finally here. We feel good about the numbers. And we've reviewed once, twice, 3 times ourselves and PEA, Pacific Energy Advisors, or consultants as well. As you can see, as expected, Power 100 is 100% renewable, 50% solar, and 50% wind. Our Power On product in 2023 was 51% renewable with an additional 4.3% carbon-free energy. That's all reflected there as well. So that next slide, please. And this is the what the power content label mailer will look like. I do want to give a shout out as well to Lucas and his team who've been working with us on this. Jen and Jill and the public affairs team as well have been instrumental in creating the data, the mailers, and all that. And again, to my team, to Carly and Kenny, and to Aaron in providing all this and doing all the accounting. So that's the recommendation. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Byron. Mari, do we have any public comment on this item?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right. So with that, this is an action item, but I'll turn it over to the board members for comments and a motion. Yes.
So did I understand you correctly that this is a really painstaking process because the software wasn't caught up to where we were? Is it always going to be this painstaking of a process?
It should be better going forward. This is also, it was compounded by, this is the first real year, I think, of the VAMO voluntary allocation market offer contracts that we and a bunch of other CCAs received from the IOUs. And there was a lot of accounting in that kind of was even more complex. So the software issues apparently have been resolved.
Okay.
So that should be even more straightforward going forward. And I think now CCAs and IOUs have processes in place to understand how all the accounting breaks out. So I don't never say never, don't want to jinx it, but at this time don't expect these issues to continue.
Got it. All right, I will move approval.
Director. All right, so Director Hensy moves approval and Director Imani seconds. Any other questions or comments? I'll note that next year we'll actually have power base, right? That will be
Correct.
added on. So that they can qualify for 2023. All right, so we have a motion to move the staff recommendation. Mari, please call the roll.
Chair LaCava,
Yes.
Vice Chair Lassen Greenberg,
Yes.
Director Aguirre,
Yes.
Alternate Director Shu,
Yes.
Director Yamani,
Aye.
Director McCann,
Aye.
Director Hensy.
Yes.
It carries, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Byron, and the entire team.
Thank you all. Really appreciate it.
So now I'll move on to item 14, which is the 2025-2028 strategic plan process overview. And I'll turn it over to our CEO, Karen Burns.
Thank you, Chair LaCava. Good evening, members of the board, members of our team, and members of the public. Tonight, I'm going to give a brief overview of the next phase of our strategic planning process. But first, I'd like to give everyone a brief overview of our initial process and why we are updating our goals over the next 2 to 3 years. So we developed and adopted our first strategic plan, including our mission, vision, values, and goals in Q3 of 2022. At that time, we were about 20 employees. We had 5 to 6 departments, 1 year of operations under our belt, and we were serving about 350,000 customer meters. So over the next 2 years, we decided to stay the course and continue executing on that plan, which has served us well. Fast forward to today, we are now about 70 employees, serving almost 1 million customers, running programs, preparing to launch a regional energy network. We have also added 5 new departments and now have over 3 years of operations under our belt. And we have visibility into what we see as our third and possibly last core growth phase. Next slide. In this planning period compared to the process in 2022, we envision that some things will stay the same and some things will change. First, we believe that our mission, vision, and values should stay the same. These have guided us well over the past 3 years and act as our North Star in our decision-making. And similar to our first planning period, we will seek active involvement and input across our staff, our Community Advisory Committee, our board, and through our public board meetings, the public. What is changing? At the end of the 2023 planning period, we solicited feedback from participants. And as a result, we have made some changes to what we propose to be the overall process. After getting feedback from the board, the CAC, and staff last year, we decided this year not to have a full day public meeting where most folks felt that they were passive participants. Instead, we are developing this plan over a 6-month period, which started in October, and we will have one-on-ones with each board member as well as discussion opportunities during public board meetings. We will present a draft plan and a final plan publicly for review. For the CAC, we will be updating them on this process in December, creating small group input and feedback sessions in January and February, bringing a draft to their committee for group discussion. We will seek their recommendation for the board of directors to adopt the plan in March. For the staff, we've been seeking input from everyone across the organization and have been identifying risks and opportunities, drafting initial goals, identifying organization-wide priorities. We also have several retreats planned over the next few months to identify and build consensus around key priorities and goals. We felt this process that we envision and are seeking feedback on provided far greater opportunities for everyone to actively engage, to be heard, and to contribute in a way that is both efficient and collaborative. Next slide, please. Over this next 2 to 3 year time period, we have also been able to identify 4 high-level focus areas. We see this next 2 to 3 year period as a discrete point in time. It is defined by the last significant growth phase for our core infrastructure and team. A continued reliance on short-term power markets as we build our long-term PPA contracts and wait for assets to come online, and a continued need to build reserves and develop a firm financial foundation for the future. So that led us to develop 4 key focus areas at the beginning of this process, which continue to resonate as we dive deeper into the development of our strategic goals. The first focus area is on our internal infrastructure, We have a strong need to build out our IT, data, policy, and legal infrastructure. This is everything from strengthening our IT systems and risk management infrastructure to building a full legal team capable of delivering on the work requirements of our growing org. Our next focus area centers on customer affordability. This was the top ask of our customer base when we first compiled the survey results of the Community Power Plan, and continues to be a top priority for them as well as for us and the state. We are thinking about affordability in a number of ways. As you heard tonight, we closed on our first of several prepay bond transactions, which cost savings can help drive lower rates. We will continue to offer our power-based product for our most price-sensitive customers, and will be focused on the launch of our regional energy network, which will increase energy efficiency, flex load, and other bill-saving initiatives across the county. We see flex load programs, which include electric devices, DERs, and integrated demand-side management, as an opportunity to create substantial bill savings for customers as well as cost savings for SDCP. Our third focus area is financial sustainability. We are still shy of our reserve goal, though we have done a fantastic job building reserves thus far. And so we need to continue to balance customer affordability with the need to continue building reserves over this next 3-year period. And finally, our fourth focus area has been, and we believe should continue to be, our people. For example, we'll be seeking to put our management training into daily practice through a set of management culture expectations, reminders, and trainings. We need to optimize our staffing and resource allocations, and we need to reduce any identified critical points of failure to ensure organizational continuity. We will continue to build out our core staff and ensure that everyone has a great experience and professional growth opportunities within the organization. So as you can imagine, to accomplish all these core activities and to do them well within this time frame, there are going to be activities and opportunities that we may have to say no to, or at least not yet. Next slide, please. So this is how it all comes together, starting with our mission, vision, and values, which, as mentioned, we do not suggest that we change at this time. These drop into 4 high-level focus areas over the next 2 to 3 year period, which then are supported by the 3-year outlooks built by each department, the identification of org-wide risks and opportunities, our current financials, and the rate-setting process and rate outlook over this period. These, through collaborative discussion, can result in a draft set of goals and priorities over the next 3 years that get folded into the strategic plan, reviewed and discussed with the board and the CAC. And finally, these then cascade into our annual fiscal year 25-26 work plan, department goals, overall hiring plan, and investment plan. Lastly, these will tie to everyone's individual goals and in the next year, their annual performance reviews. Next slide, please. So these next few slides, I'll go through quickly. They're just a further breakdown and more detail of our proposed timeline and process. We kicked off the internal discovery and socialization process in September. Next slide, please. And we're now here in the October to December timeframe. We've produced our first draft of our departmental outlooks. We've held a first retreat. We've completed our risk and opportunities matrix and have reconfirmed some high-level themes. Next slide, please. Ideally, in January, we'll have a new board. And so in January and February, after rate setting, we will kick off engagement with the board and the CAC in earnest. We will come to both the board and the CAC at least once with an initial draft and engage in small group and one-on-one discussions to seek maximum input. We are aiming to have the CAC recommend the strategic plan in the middle of March and have the board adopt it at the end of March. Next slide, please. With the strategic plan adopted, we then can break down the first year of the plan into annual goals, annual department work plans, and then annual individual work plans, all of which fold into our fiscal year 26 budget. Next slide, please. So this is sort of what we propose as our strategic planning process. We are open to feedback, input, edits, and we are looking for the board's feedback on the process itself, the amount of input and engagement, timing, and any other thoughts you have on high-level themes or at this point in time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Karen. Mari, do we have any public comment on this item?
No, Mr. Chair.
All right. The only comment I'll make up front is this also reflects some of the feedback you're getting from several of you about whether there was really a value in an all-day strategic session or not. There didn't seem to be as much interest. It's pretty intensive. It's certainly a lot of work for staff, something like that together. So giving this out incrementally seemed to be kind of what the strategy, no pun intended, for this next process. So this is an information item. I'll turn it over to the board members for any comments or questions or any thoughts, reactions. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I just say I think those intensive strategic planning sessions made a lot of sense when we're really trying to figure out what this was. What are we doing? What are those high level goals? But I think as we are now much more mature, still a way to go, but significantly more mature as an agency and an entity, I think this is very wise. I think my request would be, it's always so much information and so much work that you all do. Sometimes it's hard to know what's new and what's not new and what's a difference versus what's staying kind of the course. And I think just being a little bit mindful to emphasize this is not changing. This is what we're already doing. There's nothing different here versus this is something that's different and this is how it's different so that we can focus in on things that are potentially a new direction or something that it would be a break from what we had been doing previously. In all, I think that will be helpful, at least for me.
Director Yamai.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the presentation bifurcated by themes, simplified, I mean, the understanding of how we are going to move forward with additional directions or things that just like you said, not yet, but there's the hope that we will, I mean, in the future as we evolve. This is 4th, 5th year of the organization, I mean, having this established and to be more, I mean, stable foundation that we have to have to move forward to a more successful organization. Thank you.
Any other, Director Hinsey?
Yeah, I must have been the only one that said I really enjoyed that full day session. I got to meet Mayor McCann and he so kindly shared this huge bunch of grapes with me. And from then on, I'm like, he's a good guy. So I do
Thank
think
you.
that as we move forward and we'll constantly be onboarding new board members and new staff members, it is still really important to build that trust with one another. So as long as it's incremental, that there still are those opportunities for it to be social and to get to know each other as people is important.
Director Shu.
As alternate, of course, I'm not involved with the governance of this body as I would have liked. But I'm actually so happy and delighted and glad to see this process moving forward. This much attention spent on strategic planning. I could remember when San Diego Community Power was just starting 3-4 years ago. There was a lot of apprehension from a lot of people going, how is this going to organization go? What it's going to be like? Is it going to make it? So there was a lot of fear. And cities like La Mesa are so dependent on San Diego Community Power as part of our community, our climate action plan. This is the most successful part of greenhouse gas reduction is from our energy sector. And without San Diego Community Power, we would not have achieved those goals in the last few years, and we'd have depended on it going forward as well. So I'm really happy that we're being successful and paying attention to the strategic planning process. I had a short conversation day before yesterday about the whole organization's growth and at what stage it is now. And maybe if we anthropomorphize it and look at it as the first, this is a growth stage, the adolescent stage. I think we had some great beginnings, good values, and good foundation that's helped it through the initial growth part, but it is still a critical growth stage now. We have a long ways to go before the organization becomes a mature, strong organization. So it's important for us to continue with this attention spent on the organization itself and the culture of the organization. And having been with some other organizations and the culture, there's a few that lack the right kind of culture, and those organizations are paying for it. So I'm happy that for San Diego Community Power, we started out well, we're stronger, and we're paying attention to what the culture is going to be like as we go forward. So this is great. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments? I think you all were very much on point. I think I've said it before that we have a very ambitious strategic plan. Some of it is internally inconsistent with one another. We can't hit every single part of that strategic plan. As Byron mentioned, the landscape is still kind of fuzzy in terms of what SDG&E is interested in doing and how that affects community power, what the CPUC, how it handles decision-making, rate setting, and then Sacramento's, new focus on affordability, as Karen mentioned, and exactly how does that translate to the investor-owned utilities as well as the CCAs. And it's a very dynamic situation. There doesn't seem to be quite the stability that would make life a little bit easier for the staff out there in terms of what they do. And also the slowness, and I'll talk a little bit about that at the end there, of which these solar and wind projects are actually coming online, continues to be something that that we're all monitoring once we enter into those contracts and they go out there and pursue those permits and construction contracts is all going a little bit slower as well. But on the whole, I think as Director Shu mentioned, rather extraordinary, even reflecting that we've had a pretty significant changeover in the board from the early days. Yet it kept going. And that I think is really a testament to the strong staff, the CEO that we were fortunate to land and bring on board. So I think we're in very good shape. So thank you for this update. And I think we'll want to hear from the director if you want more information, less information, or as Vice Chair said, information in a different fashion. So with that, that ends our regular agenda. We'll go to our CEO for a report.
Great. Thank you, Chair. And it's definitely been an enormous team effort and will continue to be. We have a great team. All right. So we have been busy. Yesterday, along with Chair LaCava and Byron Vosberg, the community power team attended a ribbon cutting ceremony in Holtville to celebrate the grand opening of the Vikings Energy Farm. This is a 150 megawatt capacity of solar and storage developed by Arivon to help us strengthen the grid and continue to bring reliable, renewable energy into the San Diego region. Last week, our Chief Financial Officer, Eric Washington, attended day 2 of the San Diego Regional Energy Academy that we're supporting, where he welcomed the cohort, the first inaugural cohort, I believe it was, and shared about community power and our role as San Diego's clean energy provider. Next slide. Okay. I had the pleasure of moderating and speaking on several panel discussions this past month. I moderated a panel at the University of San Diego's Leslie K. McAllister Symposium on Climate and Energy Law, where panelists discussed the impact of high energy costs on both residential and commercial customers and efforts across the state to reduce those costs. I also sat on the plenary panel at the California Efficiency and Demand Management Council's annual fall conference. My fellow panelists and I shared our thoughts on the future of California's demand response and distributed energy resources, and I shared how organizations like Community Power are contributing to statewide access to clean, reliable power. And just last night, I moderated a discussion at the Power Association of California's first ever Southern California networking event, where we spoke about the ever-evolving landscape of energy storage in the San Diego region alongside San Diego Gas and Electric and CleanTech San Diego. Next slide, please. As always, the Community Power team has been out and about in our local communities, We recently joined the Urban Land Institute for their Sustainability and Urban Resilience Forum, which was held at Protector Brewery's downtown San Diego location. Protector Brewery is one of our Power 100 champions. Our team provided the Urban Land Institute with an overview of how developers can take advantage of community power services. And our community power engagement team recently attended Round to Work San Diego's Climate Action Community Science Program. And we gave a presentation breaking down a typical energy bill and provided information on how to save energy and money on one's bill. They also had the opportunity to work one-on-one with attendees to answer questions about energy bills, energy efficiency, and payment assistance sources. We have officially launched an online survey to gather customer feedback on Community Power's current energy solutions and future developments. We are offering survey participants a chance to win one of 3 Home Depot gift cards, 2 for residential and 1 for commercial customers. This survey is an opportunity for our customers to help shape a sustainable energy future that benefits everyone in our region. So we would greatly appreciate it if you all could share this opportunity with your constituents. The survey can be found on our website or through our social media. And our public affairs team is happy to provide any additional information you may need. We will also be releasing a survey, another one, designed specifically for our board, and would appreciate your participation and input. More information to come. Next slide, please. And Community Power is still hiring. On December 3rd, we will welcome Brittany Smith, Senior Cybersecurity Analyst, to our team. And then just a quick update on the Power Network. As of last Monday, the request for qualifications, or RFQ, officially closed, and we've received a total of 33 submissions. We're thrilled to see such a strong response from our local community organizations and look forward to the next steps in building this network. So before we conclude, I'd like to once again extend my sincere thanks to Councilmember Kelly Hinsey for all of the great work that she's done for Community Power, for the city of Encinitas, and all the communities that we serve. I'd also like to thank Councilmember Jack Hsu for serving as our board alternate for the city of La Mesa. And on behalf of all of us at Community Power, we would like to thank you both for your commitment to shaping a more sustainable San Diego. I wish you all the best in your future endeavors. Thank you. That concludes my report.
All right, thank you, Karen. I'll add a few myself. As Karen mentioned, I attended the ribbon cutting of the Vikings Energy Farm. What's particularly notable about that is that we signed the power purchase agreement back in 2022. And this is the first project actually built specifically for Community Power. So it was actually a pretty extraordinary milestone. It is both solar and storage there. And as we did the ribbon cutting, it was actually working right then and there. So it was a great event. And it's the first time I've ever been to an event where they did 5 ribbon cuttings so they could get 5 different pictures with 5 different groups. But it was also built by local union jobs, and I really appreciate that the developer, Revon, actually highlighted all the unions that were involved, from IBW to the carpenters to laborers, et cetera. So, and the contractor, who was actually based on San Diego, was a very big believer in union contracts. That was really a great moment and worth the 2+ hours to get out there to Hopeville. So a couple of other thoughts. I'll add the same thoughts tonight. Of course, we recognize Director Hinsey departing. We also want to say thanks to Mayor Cran. I've been there a couple of times, so we really appreciate your both contributions. On the opposite side of the world, I want to thank you, Jack, for stepping in occasionally. And of course, we said goodbye to Colin last month. We really appreciate. We'll be seeing new representatives from both cities in the coming months. We're very fortunate, and that's, as I mentioned earlier, we've seen that continuity as the board members change, as they inevitably will in an organization like this, and yet we get very good committed individuals. So it's really great. The last thing I'll add is I believe you received surveys to the board members about educational opportunities. Getting that feedback from you all as board members and then talking with Karen, we thought The first tranche was to offer targeted topics that you could look at online at your own convenience, and thought that might work better. So if you haven't completed that survey of which topics might be of interest to you, let them know. They're going to be either producing or pointing you to videos that already exist, and you can get yourself educated. And then we can talk about, if that isn't enough of what you want more, we can do education at a board meeting, such as this, or we can do other kind of scheduling. So let's see how those videos go. So with that, I'll turn it over to the other directors. Or anything you want to mention about what's happening in your city?
Yeah, I just want to let everybody know that we signed a MOU with Citizens Climate Lobby that was finalized to do a home electrification fair at our senior center in the city of Encinitas on February 22nd of this coming year. So if anybody wants to come and see if that would be something cool to do in your city, I welcome you to come, call me, and we can go together. And then also Encinitas, I believe, will be recruiting a new CAC member this summer. So an event like that might be a good place to find that replacement. So that's it for me, my final report of all time. It's been such a pleasure again, and I'm just so proud of the work that we've done together.
Thank you. All right, not seeing any other member comments. That does bring us to the end of the agenda, and I appreciate everyone's participation today. We are adjourned. The next regular meeting of the Board of Directors of Sandy Community Power will be on December 12th, 2024, because of the year-end holidays. So we look forward to it. So we are adjourned, and I encourage you to stick around. Say one more goodbye to Director Hinton. I think there's some refreshments out there in the lobby. So with that, we are done. Thank you all.